Then they arrived at the country of the Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. As he stepped out on land, a man of the city who had demons met him. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he did not live in a house, but in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he fell down before him and shouted at the top of his voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For Jesus had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For many times it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles, but he would break the bonds and be driven by the demon into the wilds. Jesus then asked him, "What is your name?" He said, "Legion," for many demons had entered him. They begged him not to order them to go back into the abyss. Now there on the hillside a large herd of swine were feeding, and the demons begged Jesus to let them enter these. So he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man and entered the swine, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and was drowned. When the swineherds saw what had happened, they ran off and told it in the city and in the country. Then people came out to see what had happened, and when they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. Those who had seen it told them how the one who had been possessed by demons had been healed. Then all the people of the surrounding country of the Gerasenes asked Jesus to leave them, for they were seized with great fear. So he got into the boat and returned. The man from whom the demons had gone begged that he might be with him. But Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." So he went away, proclaiming throughout the city how much Jesus had done for him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. Well, it is finally my turn to say this will be my last sermon with you for a while. Today is bittersweet. Sweet because the good news is that St. Paul's has a pastor. And bitter because the good news means we must leave. Sweet because I am very excited to have Pastor Stephen's presence here in this church among all of us, bringing his presence, his experience, his gifts here to this place. And bitter because I won't be able to be a part of that for a while. But that is what interim ministry is all about. I'm thankful for the hard work that everyone has put in during this transitional time. I have a special thank you to what we call the I team, to Pastor Randy for visitation and preaching, to Pastor Paul for teaming with me on the preaching and presiding at worship, to Gary Wallers who led our Saturday evening worship services. And thanks and appreciation from the bottom of my toes to Shirley Logan, whose love for detail and love for this church made my work as an administrator and transitioner manageable. My thanks also to the Congregational President, Janice Gerken, and to members of the Church Council for your dedication and your commitment to this church. We didn't get it all done, but so goes the work of the church. There's always more that needs to be done. One of those things is I was going to make a video with you of how to take communion on the first Sunday of the month. I don't know why, but that has gotten stragglier and stragglier, but maybe you'll take it upon yourself to fix that by the time that happens in July. During these past 11 months, we've discussed different topics in different committees and the church council, and the question somewhere would usually arise, what have you seen done in other churches? Meaning, what are other churches doing? Of course, when we are asked, we usually speak from the places we've served and what was going on during that time period. We've seen places of great life and excitement, and we have seen places of strife. 19 years ago, we left such a place. It was a large congregation, a beautiful building, large Sunday schools, 2 choirs, 5 handbells, a preschool that met every day with some group in there, a large storage. Think about this. Think about our fellowship hall and a storage underneath it that's very same size. Can you imagine? They had that. They had a youth director. They had 2 secretaries, and they had a full-time custodian. They were ready to move forward. They told us they wanted exciting worship. They told us they wanted strong preaching. They told us they wanted a fresh approach to move forward into mission. They told us they wanted us. But they didn't. Well, at least not all of them. And the ones that really wanted us were not willing or able to confront the ones who fought against their dreams. After we left that place, I said, and I have said many times, that I had met the devil incarnate, and her name was Mary. Now, 19 years later, as we sat at the Synod Assembly, members of that church came to both Paul and I and thanked us for all we had done. We both looked at them without a clue as to what they were talking about. Paul and I both have always said that we did probably some of our best work at that church. But we certainly didn't think that anything we had done would be remembered 19 years later. The council president told us, "You laid the groundwork. You planted the seeds. You showed us what could be. And it took 19 years for us to have the courage to make it happen. It took 19 years for us to gather the courage to face our legion." Yes, Mary is still there, but they have overcome their fear. They've become bold in believing that God truly desires more for them and has empowered them by God's grace. Recently, they decided to move a wall in the narthex part of the church. And that wall had become the latest battleground between the Marys of the congregation and the rest. But they moved ahead, convinced that this is what was needed to serve the ministry of the church. And every time those few days they would talk to us about where they were going as a congregation, the sentence would always begin, "And the day the wall came down." That wall event continues to serve as their vision of hope. It is their sign of courage and reminds them every day that fear will never allow one to move forward. It will never allow you to accomplish dreams. It will never allow you to reach out in God's love. Being possessed by a legion of demons is not just about a church we served almost 20 years ago. A legion of demons threatens each of us every day. Jealousy, anger, unresolved hurts, self-doubt and fear, health, worry, greed, selfishness, and the need for control and power are some of the demons that can and do at times take over our lives. We become possessed and obsessed with many conflicting demons. When we let these demons take over our lives, we find ourselves saying things we would never say normally, and doing things to others we would find terribly offensive if someone did it to us. These demons take over our lives. They can cause us to act unreasonably, almost antisocial. They can cause us to hurt others. These demons take great delight in disrupting lives, in causing chaos, which only increases the fear around us. And just as the legion called out to Jesus, "What are you going to do with me?" so our demons also recognize and fear such power. The power of Christ that brings grace and love and forgiveness into the midst of our lives. The power that brings life from death. The power that overcomes fear and raises us up with courage. The courage we need to fight and overcome our demons. Now, of course, not everyone liked the change that happened. They didn't want Jesus to hang around. They might have been afraid that he was going to run a few more of their pigs over the cliff. Or they may not like the fact that from that moment, their lives too had been changed. There are many of us who would rather hold on to the demons than to let go, partly because we like them. We like them because we understand them. And we understand at least how life is by holding on to them. Because to let go of them, to allow God to heal us, is to also face new possibilities, a life that will be different. And that is sometimes very fearful. You know, it's been observed that given a choice between freedom and security, 90% will choose security. That is what the people of Gerasenes knew to be true. As long as the man was possessed, their lives would go on. It would be just another day. But now that he was free, and they were also free from all of his fits of possession, they didn't like it. They were afraid because they didn't know what life could be like now. And so they told Jesus to leave. They believed that if he left, they could return to life just as normal. But you and I know that is not true. We know that God is all-powerful and holds each of us in his hands. We know that the God who said to Moses, "I am who I will be," is the great I am. We know the one who has always chosen life for us is the same God who continues to choose life for us each and every day. We know that evil lost all power in the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ the day the wall came down. Brothers and sisters, you have been clothed in the baptismal garment of everlasting life, and you have been fed at this table of grace and mercy. Hold on to these places of hope. Make them your hammer and your chisel as you knock down the walls that separate you from others. Take them with you as you stand before the fears that keep you from moving on. And share them with those around you who lug around their weight of fear. And in the days that lie ahead, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord smile upon you and give you courage and peace. Amen.